Okay, it is now recording. Excellent. I'm
Really
gonna
nice
take
cough to start there. Lovely.
Hello and welcome to Ctrl Alt Cosplay, a podcast of general conversation and absolute tomfoolery. We're your hosts, Siobhan and Lydia, and today we have our very special guest, our first guest, Maddie, who also is probably known as Dame Deadly.
Hello. Ooh, exciting. First guest.
Hello. Yeah, no pressure.
We want gold, immediate
Yeah,
gold.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Ooh, exciting. Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's exciting. I'm sure we'll discuss awful things, wonderful things, and everything in between. Because that is what we do as a friendship group, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is why we picked you as our first guest, because we were like, who do we know who has podcast experience, is more than just a cosplayer, and is also going to MCM, so we can steal that sweet SEO.
That's sweet SEO. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I should have more than just a cosplayer TM as my Instagram bio.
You really should, because you don't just do cosplay. You do a lot of fashion and outfits of the
Yeah.
day.
It's
Especially on your
really
TikTok,
evolved.
you post.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I live for those outfits. Out for the day. And then it's double leopard print again, and I'm like, yes.
all the leopard print. I really took saying I was gonna make this year my leopard print era, and ran with it. So
You're just living life as a Bratz doll, and honestly,
that's the dream. Oh, the highest compliment I've ever received. That and when you said I would look like I'm from a Wes Anderson movie, I feel like if there was a Wes Anderson Bratz movie, that's my niche.
That's your next video.
That's your new tagline.
Oh my god! Yeah, a Wes Anderson Bratz doll, incredible.
Perfect.
And also your next reel, 100%.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk fashion or do you want to talk cosplay, seeing as they are both in your wheelhouse? Which one sparks more joy in life and in podcast?
Oh, that is a loaded question there, Lydia. I think I don't know. I feel like cosplay started off as the thing that sparked the most joy for me, and then, but I've always tried to approach cosplay from a fashion angle. So for those who don't know, I'll give a bit of context about who I am, what I do. So I actually started my cosplay life when I was a fashion student. So fashion has always been something I've kind of loved, adored. Again, I grew up with Bratz dolls, I collect dolls, and cosplay seemed like a great extension of a way to take the things I love and put it on my body. And then through cosplay, I kind of, sounds really cheesy, but I kind of found myself, because I mean, I'm transgender. I'm very openly transgender on all of my social media. So when I started cosplay, it was very much from a male presenting point of view, but wanting a piece of that sweet female fashion action, so I could wear something nice and extravagant, but it be a character. And then 'tis a slippery slope, and here I am.
Do you find was it not safer, but is it a chance to explore yourself through cosplay, and then that's then become, that's your real life now, that is who you are?
Definitely. It started as a way to be haha, because if anyone had said anything, I'd be like, well, I'm dressed as a character. I'm dressed as Maleficent. I'm dressed as Ursula, rather than it being me. And so I've been cosplaying, known you guys for forever and ever. And when I first started dipping my toe into the world of cosplay, I was very much in these very quote unquote drag costumes, like Disney villains, and these really exaggerated makeup and costumes and that kind of thing, because then it did feel like a costume. And then kind of as I went on, I was like, oh, maybe I could experiment with softer makeup. Ooh, maybe I could be like Charlotte LaBeouf instead of a villain. And then it all just which Charlotte LaBeouf, an icon. And then through that, I kind of stopped becoming a costume and started becoming me. And then I felt like my real life was the costume. And then that's when I was like, maybe I shouldn't feel like I'm putting on a costume to go
Yeah.
out in the world, and then when I'm at Comic-Con, feel like myself. Like,
Yeah. That's when you start talking to your therapist. You're like, well,
yeah, it's like, guys, we have a lot to unpack today.
yeah. I have to ask, what was your very first cosplay?
My very first cosplay. Okay, so I have two answers for this because it goes back and forth. So my first cosplay when I knew what cosplay was Kakashi from Naruto.
Oh my god.
Absolutely kills me.
My weeb roots.
I can't imagine.
Honestly, I'm much more of a Tsunade. But
Exactly.
I I mean, I should do Tsunade. That'd be a very full circle moment.
That we have the episode title already.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, and that was very much, I was in an anime fan. I did all this kind of stuff, and then so what I say is actually my first cosplay is I went to World Book Day when I was probably about 7 as Princess Peach.
Oh my god.
And
Does that
of course the
count?
whole, yeah, I'm like, does it count? Because it's Princess Peach. It's
got a
within the
book.
wheelhouse. But no, and that was a very big contention. So I brought
Mm.
the manual from Super Princess Peach, the game, and I was
God,
like, technically
iconic.
it's a book.
Not a book. Okay.
It really doesn't count. Like now, I would be like, that doesn't count. But me, I just wanted to dress as Princess Peach. So
That's
were you going to
valid.
stop
I love
me?
that.
No.
7-year-old Maddie is
Um,
Princess Peach.
Yeah, honestly. And yeah, that caused a whole kerfuffle with my family. But I always say that's kind of the core of where Dame Deadly as an essence started. Like, kind of breaking the rules, but still wanting to look cute. And yeah, so from weeb to weeb, even though Nintendo's like weeb adjacent, but like a normie weeb.
It's true. They have if they have a theme park for it, you know it's Weeb adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon, right? It's like normie
it's kind
weeb.
again,
It's like
it's like normie weeb, yeah.
it's mainstream.
Mainstream Weeb.
I feel like it can be like it's that thing where you can have like your big blokey cis white guy being like, yeah, I like Nintendo, I like Mario, but then you could also be like one of these
Yeah.
people that be
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
actually, she's not Princess Peach in the original game. It's actually a different princess. Like you can
Are
you
you
can
atting yourself?
No, I'm just saying it's one of those things where, like, again with Pokemon, you can be like, yay, I like Pokemon, and you can be like, I have
Yeah.
165 cards. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like it has the capacity to go to weeb and nerddom, but it's, and like I definitely viewed it from that. Like I have grew up loved watching like Nintendo things and playing Nintendo games, and I've been obsessed with Japan, so that's kind of where I was coming at it from. But yeah, definitely not a book character.
surprisingly, you've done Bowser and you've done Peach.
Yeah. It's just so
You've not
funny. I've
really
done
revisited
Bowser.
Nintendo. You haven't done her in a while though. Like you've not really done
No,
Nintendo.
I haven't done proper Peach because I feel like when I do it, it'll be a proper full circle moment. And I feel like I need to be emotionally prepared for that.
Would you do her OG or would you go historical? Because I know you're quite interested in historical fashion.
Yeah, I mean, I find now with cosplay again, because I've tried to come at it from that kind of fashion angle and make it a little bit, because I often find with animated characters the kind of flat colors when translated into human clothing don't look as good, or you just have to play with textures and fabrics and that kind of thing to make them look more wearable. I think I would probably do, like, I love her Smash Bros. Brawl dress. Besides that weird bit at the front,
Why they do that? Why do they do
I
that?
don't-
What was
a
the weird bit at the
perfect
front?
design. Like her skirt, like it looks like her shirt continues below the waistband of her skirt.
Oh
It's
no,
like
I
an
hate that.
ugly white lace triangle,
Yeah,
and
it's just a
to be honest,
triangle.
most cosplayers
Oh, it
do just like take
is.
it out. They're just like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no.
useless.
Honestly, they
Yeah,
nerfed
take that
her
out.
because otherwise she'd be too powerful with that one little
Yeah.
triangle.
It
Yeah,
looks
so
like
if I
she's
did it,
tucked into her belt. Yeah,
I
it's a
hate
horrible
it.
It's
choice.
such a
Why did they do that?
choice.
Because the rest of the design is absolutely stunning.
It's lovely, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I would probably do that, but yeah, again, more of a my take on it. So maybe like panniers and stays instead of
Mm.
because I do want to do Peach eventually again. I probably
Mm.
won't do Kakashi again, but maybe something from the world of
No?
Naruto.
That's
No.
fair. Yeah. So, what draws you to historical fashion rather than normal cosplay?
So I think because I've been cosplaying for so long, God, how long have I been cosplaying? Too long. I will try and work out how long I've been cosplaying. I can probably work backwards. It's like over 11, 12 years.
Oh wow.
So because I started when I was in secondary school, like a tiny baby weeb. And I think I've kind of, not that I've done everything I want to do with cosplay, but I've done the kind of absolute screen accuracy. I've done the my own take. I've done the street fashion AU version. I've done the superhero AU version, mostly with Lydia actually. But I think historical is the thing that I keep coming back to at the moment because it's a real challenge for me. Because I've like I can sew, but historical sewing is like sewing with an asterisk. Like you're gonna need to you need to buckle in for this. And I think I just love a challenge because everything I try to do within my hobbies and my cosplay and everything should be a bit of a challenge, or should be. Or if it's not a challenge, then it's a hubris cosplay I'm crunching out in 2 weeks for a con. But yeah, I think it's just the next evolution of where I'm going because I don't have to do it to feel comfortable anymore. Like I don't have to wear a pretty dress because I can just do that. Like I could do that. I do that in my everyday life. Like so now I'm like, how can I make myself uncomfortable? And historical clothing is the way.
Speaking of crunching a cosplay in 2 weeks, now
Yeah,
this episode's probably coming out after or before MCM or anything. How's
yeah.
your crunch going?
Wow.
Yeah, segue.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's not as crunchy as I usually am, but it's
That's
still
good.
crunching. Um, so I'm re-wearing my Effie Trinket cosplay on the Saturday, because of the Hunger Games resurgence on TikTok at the moment for the new movie, of course. And then I'm doing Barbie on the Sunday, which is just like my wardrobe, but I need to style a ridiculous 60s wig for that. But I am doing the new Draculaura from the new Monster High, which Monster High, if you haven't even peeked at my socials, if you open it, it is like when that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where the Nazis melt, apart from it's Monster High. Um, and
What a visual.
just me holding up a doll like perceive. So for that I'm having to like hand paint a load of bats on a corset, and I have to make a horrible ruffly 80s shirt out of chiffon. So this weekend's going to be very crunchy. But for example, our friend Clara La Petite Spider, she has a lot more crunch than me, so I am
Oh,
very
does
happy
she?
about that. Yeah, she's making a whole new bow for Ayla.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and redoing a load of stuff for her Jinx from Arcade. So she sent me her list, and I was like, I feel better about myself now.
You're like, I did feel bad, but now I feel better that
Yeah,
you feel bad.
and I feel like it's not MCM without a crunch though. I feel like it's
Mm.
part of the rite
Oh,
of
it's a
passage.
ritual. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like if I was just rolling up to MCM ready, I'd be like, what am I doing?
What have I forgotten?
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be, oh my god, my entire costume.
I feel like that doesn't
Um,
sound as crunchy as you could be.
no,
That's very
I've
light crunch, but
yeah. I mean, I
still
made Queen
crunch.
of Hearts like 2 days before
Hmm.
Cosexpo, so
You also did that with
that
Snow White
was
as well, where you crunch
yeah.
Snow White in a few days, and that cosplay is stunning.
I need to rewear Snow White. I've only worn her
You really
once.
do.
And there's a lot of fabric in that skirt, which is just sitting in storage.
It was stunning, and I remember you making it in like however short time you made it, and I remember us all being like, "Why are you not on a reality TV show?" Because you get these people that are like crying because they've got like 72 hours to make like a top, and you've made like a full princess dress and wig and cape in
Yeah,
less time, and I'm like,
I
I need to
may.
see
Yeah,
you on a reality TV show, just being like,
Showing people in
I
Sewing
think
Bee how it's done.
yeah.
honestly, like yeah, Snow White. I think is my record for the fastest costume. I think I made her in 6 hours.
The
Jeez.
fact of
Um,
how well and how pretty she is
yeah,
ridiculous when you actually when you say, "Oh, I made her in 6 hours." It's like
yeah.
how
You must have just absolutely gone into such a zone and just like, right, we're doing
I
this.
was just pure vibration. I don't think I was a human. I was like, you know that like "Mom, I threw up" meme where it's like a nebulous being.
Hmm.
That that was me, but with a snow with like, and those circle skirts. So there's 3 double circle skirts in that skirt,
Wow.
and each has a layer of trim on the bottom hem, which is insane. Like, I would not make that effort now. So thanks, past Maddie, who did that for me. But yeah, maybe we should do a stow shoot or something, or a monthly National Trust shoot.
That'd be good.
Princess
Yeah,
I'm
vibes.
always down for Princess. I think it's the same for me as it is for you, where not that you got burnt out, but like you have your big Disney phase,
Yes.
maybe, and then you kind of dip away from it and you do other stuff. And then I'm getting to the point now where I personally am like, you know what, I want to get back into Disney. Like,
Yeah.
actually, no, that's a lie because I'm now in a Zelda hole. But like, I
Well,
was
I
in like
mean,
coming back to Disney, and I feel like that's the
yeah.
same for you because you've done Queen of Hearts recently. But it was the same thing where
Yeah.
you didn't, you did a lot of Disney, and then you were just like, no more Disney.
Yeah, I think 2
It
years
was-
ago you were like Tink, Rapunzel, Aurora,
and
Alice.
then you fell into
and
a
then
weeb
nothing.
hole.
Yeah.
But then same with Maddie, like you did
Yeah.
like Queen of Hearts, you did Maleficent,
Yeah,
Ursula.
like
I was gonna say I met you
like
as Ursula.
yeah, I mean, I used to do Disney was like my main cosplay wheelhouse because I mean, yeah, as you say, I think everyone goes through a Disney phase, but I started in anime and then very quickly found that I loved doing Disney cosplaying. And I was a Disney cosplayer for like 5-6 years, and it's how me and Lydia met through like Disney Princess Alternative cosplay, like where we did like AU princess cosplays, and it's how I actually met a majority of my friendship base now. And like you say, I just got burnt out on it, and I think there is something about like the Disney cosplay community, which is it's very intense and it's fantastic when it's fantastic, and then when it's not, it's not. And I
It's a
think there's just
very
something
odd
about yeah,
fandom.
it's like, and again, it's that I think it's the proximity to normaldom, like how we said, like with Nintendo and that kind of thing, is that it's not so niche, because other things, like for example, again, Monster High, I feel like if you're going to cosplay a Monster High doll, you're going to be really into the fandom. And if you're going to cosplay from Black Butler, you're really into the fandom.
Yep.
Yeah, deep cut to Black Butler. Hello.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Shout out to Sib there.
Yeah.
me and Sib, we'll bring back the Black Butler fandom
That's
one
it.
cosplay at
Circus
a
time.
time.
Let's go.
Oh, I want it so bad. I want to do Madame Red so bad.
I don't. I can't believe you haven't.
I know.
I
Honestly,
we'll get
maybe
Lydia
I
as
should.
Butler Grill, and then
Oh,
I don't
right,
want to
Lydia,
be Grell.
you can be
you
Butler
would
Grill.
slay
He's
as
a cute
Grell.
version.
Oh
I do
yeah,
not want to
Grell
be
with an E on the
Grell.
end.
Yeah, with
I
the
feel like
E on
you.
the end.
Yeah,
I forgot
that's how
that.
they know.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd make a good Ronald, Lydia.
Ronald, I'm gonna show my weeb and not know who Ronald is. Hold on.
He's later on. He's like a feral Grim
Oh
Reaper.
no. I did a Google and oh no.
Yeah, his death scythe is a
Yeah.
lawnmower. Anyway,
It's so good. I love it so much. He's
we
great.
love Black Butler in this house, honestly.
Yes, we stand.
He is 100% more my vibe than Growl.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, he's so feral. There's a point where like, it's so good. He
has the
lawnmowers a
Titanic
zombie's
moment.
head. Yes, the Titanic moment. Oh my god, it's so good.
With Grell.
Oh, everyone, watch Book of Atlantic, the best.
Please.
Black Butler. Okay, derailing.
And then watch Book of Circus.
Book of Atlanta and Book of Circus redeemed Black Butler as a series because it actually followed the manga, which
yes, for once
the original series could never.
I will still never forget going to a Black Butler meet, and I had a friend dressed as Ronald, and they wanted to do a shoot of all the Reapers, the Shinigami. And she stepped up, and they were like, "No, not you. What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm one of the Reapers," and she's like, "What?" But because the host hadn't read the manga, she'd only watched the show.
Oh,
she didn't know he existed yet, and I was like, "Oh no."
Oh no!
Because this was just as season 2 with Alloys had come out, and it was just like pain. It was very embarrassing
honestly.
for her.
Rip. Oh, I love Black Butler so much. Oh, you're like making me look over at my shelf for the Black Butler.
You need to do the seamstress woman.
Nina! Oh my god,
Nina.
literally.
Nina.
Wow, what is it with characters called Nina?
Wow.
There's this incredible seamstress who is also feral, and a lesbian, which we love. in Victorian London, and she like whenever she goes to make a garment or something, she rips off her Victorian skirt and she's just in bloomers and thigh highs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that
Uh,
is a very you vibe.
oh,
She's
she's
great.
insane. She's so good, and she loves CL because he like treads the gender boundaries with clothing so she can dress him up. And an icon.
What does attract you to a character to cosplay? Like you said
Ooh,
that Nina is like your vibes. Like what
yeah.
makes you want to pick a character to cosplay?
So I think, like, to begin with, I mean I love costuming clothes very eccentric people because I myself I think I'm an eccentric person, and obviously that lends itself to villains quite a lot. But now I love this kind of idea of powerful women, and they don't necessarily have to be good women. They don't have to be um kind of I don't have this tick list of what makes a character me, but there is this kind of running thread of women who are so passionate, so confident within themselves, and so unapologetically them. And I think that a lot of times people think the characters I cosplay can be vapid and can be obsessed with clothes or these other things, but I like, for example, Padme Amidala, who I adore as a character within the Star Wars universe, is probably one of the most politically minded women we see. She is a senator, she's a queen at 14, and she uses clothing as a way to represent her culture, represent who she is, but also as a weapon against people, and holds herself in such a way that is so like profoundly feminist, in a way that a lot of people I think just view her as this woman who wears frilly clothes. Same with Effie Trinket, like, who I also adore, is this very on the surface people view as a kind of vapid character, but she has so much depth, and she learns about her kind of corrupt society through connecting to these children, and tries to like soften the blows against them by, and she's just like, it's just these subversive women that are so unapologetically themselves that I think that's what gets me excited. And then occasionally I'll just do something because it's a cute outfit, but
I was gonna say, like, how do you marry these strong, women and Disney? Like, no
yeah,
shade on Disney, but
exactly.
like they are
No,
definitely different vibes.
exactly. Yeah, and I think it's trying to find something I can relate to in Disney, which I think is probably why I stopped doing it so much, because it is just at the most core of it, it's a pretty dress, and there are fantastic female characters, and I think definitely if you look at who I have cosplayed in Disney and have been passionate about and have come back to, it is these interesting female characters. Like Cruella is a character that I wear constantly, and she is not a nice person. Objectively, she tries to make a coat out of puppies, but
Yeah.
she's so captivating in the way that she is. It's like, that Lady Gaga quote where she's like, I'm not trying to glorify murder, but I do believe in the like lifting up of women."
Wow.
Which was about her character in House of Gucci. And again, I've cosplayed that character, and it's again objectively not a nice person, but something so captivating about them. And I think that's really what gets me, is characters that interest me. So Ariel, I think, as a Disney princess, a lot of people do view as like, oh, she left the water for the man. And I'm like, did you not watch the first half of the movie where she's obsessed with humans and doesn't feel like she belongs where she is? And I think I definitely related to that growing up, which is why Ariel was such a special character to me when I finally cosplayed her. But then again, there are characters that I have just cosplayed because they're cute. Like, I'm trying to think of any now, but I'm kind of drawing a blank, because I think when you spend so much time with a character and you're making this character, and often I like rewatch source material or I'm looking up references and those things, I feel like you form a sort of relationship with the character that you're
Mm.
cosplaying. And it comes like a deeper thing. Like, I feel like Charlotte LaBeouf, when I decided to cosplay her, I wasn't like, she's the best animated character in history. I was just like, oh, she's a fun blonde. And then the more I like did it, I was like, oh my gosh, this character is fantastic. She like doesn't put herself first. She offers to like lose her fairy tale moment so that she can lift Tiana up, and they like really created this fantastic female character, which she does have flawed moments. But then I don't think, if I hadn't spent that much time with her, studying her and seeing how I could relate to her, I think I would probably still view her as like the one in the big pink dress.
I think there's something to be said about, you see all these like very fashionista kind of women, like, you know, Cruella de
Mm.
Vil and Charlotte and all that kind of thing. But then there's, the more you look at them, they're just wickedly clever. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that, there it is. That's the bit that, you know, the same with, you know, Effie Trinket and things like that. She's just
Yeah.
this looks queen. She's very, it's very sort of drag
Mhm.
inspired, the way I look at like that sort of
Yeah. Completely.
inner circle of, I can't, Pantene or whatever it's called. Panem. I was close.
Panem.
Panem. And then you see this sort of like, it's very sort of drag and sci-fi and everything, and they just see her as this. They see the butterfly dress. You're like, oh wow, she just gets
Yeah.
how she looks, and it's just very,
Mhm.
yeah, taking time to know characters, and yeah, there is a wicked cleverness there.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, I mean, getting into psychology now, but I think that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
how I view myself.
Yes, you are
Because
wickedly
I
clever.
am, well, thank you, but I feel like it's that people view me as this person who wears ridiculous outfits and does all these things and wears 17 different types of leopard print. But I like to think that there is some depth even
Mhm.
with that kind of like, I think it's
Yeah.
something about this, because I've had to think a lot about femininity in my life, right? And understanding whether, like, because a lot of society likes to punish women for liking how they look or
Mhm.
expressing themselves in any way that isn't the norm. And I think that I've drilled down into those characters so much that it has become me. Because I feel like there is such a thing as like performative femininity, but there's also such a thing in like strength within femininity. And I think a lot of society now, like even if you look at cottagecore and these girls that are kind of reclaiming this very sweet, lovely aesthetic, but it's for themselves rather than for the view of others. And I think that is the core of what I'm doing, is like I want to take these insane crazy outfits because I love fashion, but give it depth at the same time.
I was gonna say, there's something to be said about, you know, especially in society today, like, you know, even with social media and stuff, there's something to be said about a woman or a female presenting person who is feminine, beautiful, like who presents themselves with such confidence, and then when you find out they're clever, it's like, oh, we're in trouble now because they've got a brain to back this up. Like, they don't just look good.
Yeah,
Like, people get scared about it.
completely. Yeah, and people are scared of a woman who thinks for themselves, which
Yeah,
is like a
absolutely.
mad thing to say, but like especially in today's society. And that's often why I think women as a whole are vilified. And I just want to, like, obviously I don't want to give Cruella de Vil a voice, hello, but I want to kind of represent those characters that mean so much to me, and but some people could just brush off as the pretty or the weird or the eccentric character.
No, I definitely think there's depth to everything you do, and I think not only are you intelligent, but I think you're very emotionally intelligent as well. And we've talked about confidence and stuff. And you have so much confidence in yourself, and I've known you a long time, so like I've seen how much you've grown, and it's nice to know that. I mean, it's not a cliche, but like to say, you know, like, oh, you know, a character gave me strength, and I got this from this character. But I mean, we all do that, whether they're real life people we know or, you know, you're getting strength from a fictional character. I think it's something that we all do. Yeah, it's a very human thing to do, to, you know, find something you love and then use that to grow yourself into a better person.
I think that's probably why we do cosplay, isn't it? Is that not why we find characters we love and then we use it to better ourselves? That's probably too deep. Some people do just like
Oh
being a
god.
bunny
It's just
boy.
really cool.
But,
No.
yeah, some people just love cat girls. But like,
Yeah, can't relate.
True.
but I'd like to think those cat girls are making the world a better place.
Absolutely.
One by one. I was gonna say, cottagecore, that whole kind of trend, it's not something that I kind of understand because it's not a fashion style that I myself kind of aspire to. But it reminds me of like Lolita fashion, in the way
Yes.
that you're dressing for yourself and not for like male gaze or for anything like that. It's dopamine dressing. It's like, this is what I want to wear. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with
Yeah.
it, but yeah, it
No,
does.
like completely. So like the idea, I remember when cottagecore first started, as I mean, it's like kind of a reskinning of a lot of styles like Maury Kay and that kind of stuff. But like it started during the pandemic because people wanted escape, really. And it was actually pioneered by a lot of people who had a lot of really high profile jobs and that then realized that it kind of wasn't worth it when the world was ending. um so it's all about kind of taking a moment to it's about a slower pace of life, and the whole key phrase with cottagecore is romanticize your life. So it's about kind of and the big inspiration for it is Ghibli films, and how Ghibli kind of they like Miyazaki takes the mundane but makes it beautiful. So like the babbling of a brook or a bird flying past or just listening to the sound of the wind. And there's so much like so many things in our life that are so technology based now that it's kind of a reclamation of a way things were before, but without those like horrible like values associated with, I don't know, being from that era and that kind of thing. And it's like a whimsical take. It's like trying to make your life be like a Ghibli film.
Right.
And I
I've
think
heard the slogan vintage fashion,
vintage
not vintage
fashion, not vintage
values.
values. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
I've not
it
heard
goes
that
along with
before.
that. It's a really it was oh, what's his name, Dandy Wellington coined that. He's a black man who dresses in 50s clothes, and he is fantastic. If you go and check out his social media, Dandy Wellington, he's amazing. He does a lot of Dapper Day stuff at Disney actually. But I remember kind of seeing this cottagecore trend pop up on TikTok and being like, oh, this is lovely, but it's not me. And then I did like a joke cottagecore look. I think if you scroll back on my TikTok, on my Instagram, it's like I put like trying this cottagecore thing, lol. And then if you could see me now, um, like
The grip
cut
is
to me running
strong.
through a ruin in Scotland in a dress. Well, I think again it's that like reclaiming femininity as one thing, and also kind of as someone I work within social media and marketing, as someone whose whole life is kind of spent online. It's nice to sometimes just want to go and have a picnic with your friends, like. And I think it also boils down to that love of fashion that I have. Like sometimes you just want to frolic around in a pretty dress, and that's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with frolicking in a
No,
pretty dress.
that should be my slogan. There's nothing wrong with frolicking.
That can be the episode title. Episode 1, nothing wrong with frolicking.
Love that. I'm here for it. Nothing's
Frolic a
wrong
lot.
with. Yeah, I think we need more frolicking in our lives. There's so much,
We
We really do.
do. It
Yeah.
brings so much joy. I mean, we went to sort of the UK's answer to a Ren Fair last year,
Mm.
Fantasy Forest, and we did like a group run vote, like a video where we were all frolicking, and it was ridiculous, A, but B, it was like the most I've laughed in ages, I think,
Mm.
because there's just so much joy in it, and yes, it was being ridiculous, but also there's just something about running through a field with your friends whilst one of you has a cat tail.
There was people watching us as well, and they looked like they
Yeah,
were getting enjoyment out of how much we were laughing and
yeah.
just being stupid. And it's just like, no, this is just how we make core memories with each other. It's just,
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
like that's a big part of our friendship group, and I think
Mm.
the thing that I have most taken away from cosplay and fashion and everything is like the friendships I've made through it, especially like with you both and our little friendship group. Is we do so many amazing things together. We just went to one of our friends' weddings at the weekend, um, and it's wild to think that we all met each other whilst dressed as someone else.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it on the drive home, and I was like, these people are so important in my life. And if I hadn't, I don't know, gone to that random shoot dressed as Burlesque Belle, or no, Burlesque Snow White, like I probably wouldn't have these people, which is wild.
It's definitely a big check in the thing of do something that scares you, do something that like you've always wanted to do
Yeah.
and you're not sure about. Like we met we met randomly at a con,
Yes.
where I was taking your photo, but we met properly at that shoot.
Mm.
And I only started that group because I was like, why not? Like I need to
Yeah.
make con friends. Why not start up a group? And it was scary, and like the first shoot I ever did, one person turned up and we like booked this big garden and we couldn't get in because it was cancelled because of wind, so we went to Subway and just at Subway instead. So like it may not have been perfect, but like you've said, that's how I've met the majority of my friends, have either come from that initial group or come through knowing people in that group.
Yeah.
And opportunities, I mean, I met Sib because I lurked near her until she took my picture.
Yeah.
So I'm all for like taking that leap, doing something that scares you, taking a risk, taking a chance. Because look where it can get you in 10 years' time. Surrounded by wonderful women who are incredible.
Literally. I'm trying to think how Sib, I remember how I met
Hmm.
you. I think I was actually, the first time I met you, I was dressed as Effie Trinket, which is hilarious.
Was it Effie or was it Ursula?
So it was that weekend.
Oh,
Because we ran into each other every single day. Because you
Probably.
came up to me and were like, oh, can I take a picture of you as Effie? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then we took a picture. And then you came up to me the second day and we're like, oh, can I take a picture of you? And I was
Yep.
Ursula. And I was like, oh, it's you. And we had a whole chat. And then the third day, I think I was dressed as like Yzma, maybe.
Oh my god,
Or
Yzma, I
like
forgot about Yzma.
some random. I think it was
Yeah, I
like a
don't
big
think I
purple
shot Yzma.
weekend. No, I don't think it was because we shot every single day. So I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
what the third day was.
Oh,
But you
God.
came up again, and again, we didn't recognize each other until I turned around, and then we were like, "Oh my god, hey!"
Well, I remember following you on social media for so long, and I'd watch you make Effie, and I was like, I need to see this in person. Which is when I came up, and then I saw the gown of Ursula, and I was like, oh my god! And then you turn around, I was like, it's you again! Oh my god!
I'm trying to think you did
Honestly,
on that third day because you got incredibly sunburned as Ursula.
I really did.
So I'm
I
trying to
really
think what you did
did.
on the third day.
Oh
I'll
god!
have to dig, and then we can I'll
Were
edit it and
you
post this and
were
you.
you not with Megan doing Aurora and Maleficent?
Well, so that was the day I was Ursula because we were like a heroes
Ah,
and villains group. I'll like dig it up and send it to you, and then you can mention it in the next podcast to get people to listen to the next episode.
Yeah, find out
Oh.
next time. I'm curious now, though. I'm scrolling back.
yeah, I'm
Go,
also just
go.
scrolling that.
Oh my
Podcast is
god.
like dead air while we go through
Yeah.
MC.
I mean, I post too much for that.
Would you say MCM is your favorite con, or would you say that it's just the one that you've been to the most and have the most memories with?
So that is a loaded question. I think it is the one I've been to the most, to have the most memories of, and have been the most sunburnt at in the most
Oh
short
my
amount of
god.
time.
Oh. Remind
Yeah,
me to attack
awful,
you at
awful.
May with
Yeah, I know. Well,
something.
Effie is like, I have my entire top half out, so I need to make sure I sun cream. But I think with the progression of where the UK cons have been and gone and that kind of thing, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I think I go because I know a lot of people go, and I know a lot of people there, and it's kind of a nostalgia thing. I love MCM Birmingham, actually. I think that's a great con, and we always have a really great time. I think it's because it's less stakes than London somehow, and it's just a better venue, I think. But also Cos Expo is great in terms of location and that kind of thing. There's different good things for different parts of the UK con scene. Unlike Fantasy Forest, I really enjoyed last year because I think we've touched on it earlier, but I kind of, cosplay isn't my be all and end all anymore. It used to be everything, but now I'm happy to just go to an event in a fashion look or a original character, or because I mostly go to cons to spend time with my friends now as opposed to cosplay, which is hilarious to think like we could just do that and not be at a con. But I think there's something about a con environment that is still quite nice.
The FOMO would be real if you didn't go. That's what I
Oh my
find.
god, that's the thing. And I'm like, because I like literally last year, I was like, do I still want to cosplay? I had a proper
Mm.
think, and I was like, is it still sparking joy? And then I kind of decided I needed to change the way that I cosplayed because I was just kind of throwing bleep at the wall and seeing what sticked. I think now I know what I like to wear and I know what characters I like. So I was like, I'm only gonna do group cosplays that I actually want to be in, not just like pick up a character to fill a space. And I'm gonna like pursue passion projects more than anything. And I think that's where a lot of our friendship group has ended up because we've been in cosplay for so long, is that kind of passion projects or projects that really inspire us are where we're at with cosplay. We're not gonna really do what we don't want to do.
Mm.
Whereas I think early days of cosplay, I would do that character to complete that group, or I would do something from a show I hadn't even really watched because my friends were doing it. Whereas now it's like, no, this is what sparks joy. My friends will all be from Star Wars, and I will be Miss Havisham. Like that's the kind.
As if you're not going to pick a Star Wars if you
I know,
can.
Yeah,
I know.
true.
That was a bad example. All my friends are going to be from Trigun, and I will be
That's very
uh,
accurate.
someone from Black Butler, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's like Nat cosplay choreo with the head like, I'm just gonna be Frog.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I live
literally.
by that now.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, when in
Who's
doubt,
Frog?
become Frog.
Frog.
Yeah, honestly, and like even we were talking about like a squad Disney trip and talking about like, oh, if we Disney bounded every day, like would we all do it? And that is so good at just being like, no. She's like, no, I'm going to wear a Ahsoka. Don't care what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Which that is the energy I aspire to have, to be honest.
It's like you guys
Honestly,
can have
yeah.
your hubris, and I'm just gonna do me.
I think Nat's just unaffected by FOMO. I think that's what it is that...
Imagine being unaffected by FOMO. Couldn't be
Yeah, I
me.
mean, I'm not going to MCM this year. I'm going on like a mad trip to Scotland with Nat. I'm really hype. I don't want to do MCM May anyway. But the
Yeah.
fact that you're all going, I'm like, but I could. Like, I don't even want to go to MCM May, and yet that FOMO,
The FOMO's real. It's one reason I'm going.
the FOMO.
Yeah, so Sib has just messaged in the chat. I think the third cosplay might have been Other Mother, which you
No,
did
it
shoot.
wasn't because Jessica was doing Taylor Swift that day.
No,
Oh,
Jessica
no,
was
she did
Coraline.
Coraline.
No, she was in the rainbow Taylor Swift dress.
We need to work it out.
Because I went through and I shot her Taylor Swift dress, but I didn't shoot with Maddie, so I don't have your Sunday.
Unless you did Sandus's and
Interesting.
Sisters.
Might have been.
Oh,
I mean, when would I have not
would
done
that not have been
Sanderson?
October?
Yeah, I would assume that was October.
You're getting me scrolling now, and I post too much for
It's
this,
amazing
guys.
how many cosplays you've done.
Oh, this is horrifying. Scroll through my feed,
That's
and
why
then you'll be
keep all
like,
your
"Oh my
con
god, how
highlights
much
in
money
a
have you
in
spent?"
a. Yeah,
That's
hey,
yeah.
yeah.
I need to do a con highlight.
Whilst you are scrolling through your social media, how has social media
Yes.
changed cosplay? How do you feel like, has it made it better? Has it made it worse? Do you change the way that you
Ooh.
cosplay because of social media?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think definitely there was a point where I wanted to. There's definitely a point in all of our cosplay career where we're like, I'm gonna be Yaya Han, and then you try and post what you think the algorithm wants, and then that never works because the way that people like Yaya became Yaya is posting what she was enjoying doing. And I think people on social media now are so discerning. They can really tell when you're posting something you're not passionate about or something that doesn't align with what you're doing. And I have always been quite open on my social media. I talk about mental health. I talk about my gender dysphoria struggles. I've basically had my whole transition online, which was a choice. Thank you, past me. Thank you for that. No, that was sarcasm. So I think actually in the last year it has changed quite a lot how I use social media because I used to put every single thing online and my stories used to be 87 slides long.
Oh my god, yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I
back in
remember
the
those
day.
days.
I used to live for those stories.
I know, I do miss them a little bit. But I think the way that social media has gone and is going, any kind of vulnerability can be seen as something to prey on. And I'm very unaffected by it now. There are days when it affects me more than others, but I do sometimes hesitate, like, should I post this? Whereas I think in the past I never would have done that. I would have done it because I was like, oh, I don't like how I look, or I'm too fat, blah, blah, blah. Whereas now, ironically, I'm much happier with who I am, but I'm sharing less, which is kind of, I guess, the point. But I think our whole generation lives our entire lives on social media, so it feels very bizarre to not share things now. And especially with cosplay, like, I mean, it's how most people, I think, how I made most of my friends was through social media. And a lot of people at con know me from social media because, again, I overshare and they all think they know me. And a lot of people I do know because I've been going to cons for 11 years. So I know a lot of people, but that kind of parasocial element
Yeah, it's
has
hard to set a
changed things.
boundary with somebody
Yeah,
if you are just putting everything out there.
exactly. If they know what I had for breakfast and that I cried and that I like am now watching Series of Unfortunate Events for the 17th time, like how do I then be like, you know too much about me? I'm setting a boundary because it's
Yeah.
yeah. And like I remember someone came up to me at con once and they were like, "Oh, I like the t-shirt you were wearing the other day." And I was like, "What do you mean you like the t-shirt I was wearing the other day?" They were like, "On your stories that you like did a thing." And I was like, "Oh my god." That's so bizarre because I think it's easy with socials to be like, these aren't real people.
Yeah.
Like it's just numbers. It's just people. I'm like, I think now more than ever, I realize that like the people I'm talking to are people. And the people that are reacting to things are people because again I work in social media and I work in marketing, so much of that becomes metrics and KPIs to hit and numbers, and then you're like, oh wait, if I had like it's so easy to be like, oh, my post is flopping, oh, I'm not gaining followers, but then I'm like, how is like again like a reel getting 62 likes is a flop, but then if 62 people came up to you and were like, I like your cosplay, you'd be like, I need to sit down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
So true.
That's a really good way to view it, actually.
yeah, and like I think reframing it that they're rather than, oh, I only got 62 likes, I don't know where I picked the 62 from, this is purely hypothetical, but like I think now being like, I'm trying to reframe it, and like it's almost like when you reframe negative self-talk and being like, wow, 62 people like that thing.
That thing I
Yeah,
did got 62 people. Yeah.
yeah,
Would you
when
say
people like
working in social media
Hmm.
changed how you view it?
Yes, absolutely. Nothing is real. Everything's a lie.
Social media's a lie. Oh my god.
I
It
Who
mean,
is.
knew?
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's all smoke and mirrors, and sometimes it's not even smoke. But like, I think it's really changed my perception of curated images and what people put out on socials compared to what is the behind the scenes like. And I guess you get that to a certain extent with cosplay. Of like, I love all those things where it's like the setup and the shot, where it's like they're actually crouched on an apple crate half underwater with a stoat round their neck. Um,
That was
but
so
I think
Yeah,
specific.
what photo was that? You had the locked and loaded, ready to
it
go.
Yeah.
was it was a very deep cut, and I don't know where it pulled it from. So I'm sure my therapist will love to hear about that. Yeah, so socials, I think I now take more with a pinch of salt. Like I understand that people post the best parts of their life. I think probably because of what I was talking about earlier, where if you do show vulnerability, like yes, it's fantastic, and people have something to look at, like empathize with, but also it can put a target on your back sometimes. And I think if you're only sharing the good things, a lot of the times people think that's everything that happens, and it's now I realize that like that is not a realistic reflection of the world we live in. And so I do try and still be quite open on social media, not as open as I was. Like I literally used to air my entire dirty laundry in all my life. But because of I get a lot of young queer people especially messaging me or coming up to me at con and kind of saying that they feel more comfortable talking about their feelings or exploring that kind of thing, or that they messaged me and I've talked them through certain things. And I think that is where the power of social media lies, is that a lot of people talk about it being a negative thing and then we're on our phones too much, nothing's real, which I guess I've just done for the last 3 minutes. But there's also like a fantastic element of it. Like again, our friend Clara, who we talk about a lot, I'm only really good friends with her because she messaged me on Instagram because she saw we lived in the same city and asked if we wanted to go for coffee. And there's so many people sharing fantastic resources and ways to make costumes and people guides to keep people safe at conventions because it's a big scary world. And I think it's understanding that social media isn't everything, but also that it is a tool that can be used for good. Not to go all Batman on a soapbox about it, but yeah, again, it's a tricky relationship I have with socials because it brings me so much joy. I enjoy talking to my friends and posting things that I like, but also it can bring such heartache and tricky things and realizing that like, oh my god, is this the state of humanity? But then, oh my god, there's a
Yeah.
cute cat. Like,
That's just Twitter. It's just
yeah, oh my god. Twitter is me yawning into the
Oh
abyss and then being
god.
like, oh my god, they've got a SpongeBob popsicle. Like,
Yeah.
it just really
So true.
doesn't.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
true.
The best and worst of the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the best of wives and the worst of women.
Try and predict where social media is going to go next. What do you
Oh.
reckon? What do you reckon? What would you like to see, rather? Do you reckon?
Oh, what would I like to see? A dream world. I would like to see a move away from AI.
Oh,
Oh.
god, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. But like, I think an uplifting of and that was what was so great during like lockdown and that kind of thing was that people were supporting small businesses. They were sharing fantastic resources about how we can think more critically. I think using it as that tool for good of being like shop small, like I think there's that great is it Kathy Burke who's like stay woke kids, like they're using woke as this kind of thing to be like,
Oh,
oh,
no.
if you're not racist, you're woke. If you're not this, you're woke. And it's like, yeah, I'm woke. I don't like since when did that
Where's
become
the
a bad
problem
thing?
here?
Yeah. And I think and I think Gen Z are really great at that. Like just look at what they did with like buying all those Trump tickets and then it being an empty stadium.
Oh my god,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's such potential power within it, which is terrifying but fantastic in that we can use it for good. We just choose not to. We choose to post Reddit memes about like peanut butter or whatever. But that is the human condition, is it not? To have great capacity
Very
for
true.
good, and then
Yeah.
I can have cheeseburger.
I love hiking with cheeseburger.
Who doesn't?
Oh my
Honestly,
god, you're
Sandy
showing
cat.
your age there. I can
Don't. Don't. I
Maybe
still
we should do
quote.
a dead memes cosplay group.
Oh my god.
Yeah. God, I can has bucket.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
God.
No, I am too old. I'm too old for this.
Did you see there was like someone posted on Twitter and it was like Amazon box is like, oh my god, Becky, look at her box, and then everyone's like so confused about what it's referencing
Oh my
What?
god.
because it's an old song now, so everyone's like, what is this? And then obviously all of millennial Twitter is now like up in arms and
Oh my god.
fucking murdering
People not
kids,
knowing their
so-
memes.
yeah.
Actually, we had a moment like that. Do you remember? I think it was when we were shooting and we came down to see you, and we Lydia and Clara doing that costume swap, My Hero something.
Oh yeah,
And you were doing
yeah.
Snotty, and you were doing something with your shoes, and I went like, "Let's get some shoes," like that.
Yes.
And was it a guy that started singing it, and the
Yeah.
girl was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he was like, "Oh my god, shoes!" And the girl next to him was like, "What are you doing?"
It's
That was iconic. That was
peak
iconic.
YouTube.
I
Yeah.
miss Vine. I quote Vines on the daily.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
same.
It makes me sad that it just doesn't exist, and it didn't because it died. Like they don't exist anywhere else anymore.
No,
So, like,
besides buying compilations on YouTube.
yeah, and who's watching that apart from millennials? So, like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say me, but as a millennial, yeah.
yeah.
Called out.
Wow.
Sorry, I mean I'm also a millennial, but like the amount of times that I'm like road work ahead. I sure hope it
Sure
does.
hope it
And people be like,
does.
what?
Yeah, I know.
know your
I
Vine
almost dropped a
history.
croissant the other day and I was like, stop! I almost dropped my croissant. And everyone was like, oh, that's a funny voice. I'm like,
Oh
Yeah.
no. Is it
Shame
just...
on you. Shame on you.
Wow.
and technically I'm Gen Z, but
Stop.
well, I'm that weird like in between
Oh my
where it's like I
god,
don't fit
yeah.
into millennials and I don't fit into Gen Z because Gen Z think I'm like an ancient college professor and then millennials think I'm a child.
Oh
So
my god.
Yeah, I mean, millennial is a really wide. It's a really wide age range if you
well,
compare
yeah,
like
so
young
Gen Z.
millennials to older millennials.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about the other week, where like you're getting to that age now where your friends are getting married and having kids, and you're like, you can't be grown-ups. I remember when you did like
Yeah.
this thing. You're not a grown-up.
Yeah, it's that still like when someone tells you they're pregnant, you're like, is this good or bad?
Yeah,
I need to
how
know
do
how
I
to
react
react.
to it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Are they smiling
I-
when they say this?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has, I think he has 3 kids now, and I'm like, I remember when you got like a
3
Capri
children?
Sun tattoo, and like,
Oh my god.
Oh
I
my
remember you
god.
being so drunk. Like, how are
Yeah.
you a father? Like, I don't.
Not just once, but 3 times.
Yeah, how has this
times.
happened that you're a grown up and you go to like craft fairs now and like your children are like well developed and like this isn't right. Why do you have a golden retriever? Like I hate this.
Yeah.
The white
This
picket
is not the
fence.
person
Yeah.
I knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then we're here like Ramune.
I love Ramone.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Ramune? Honestly,
Honestly.
an iconic.
It is
group.
wild when you consider where people are in their life. Because yeah. But hey, as long as you're happy. Whether that's
Exactly.
with, white picket fence and a golden retriever or dressing up like a weeb. Like whatever
You
sparks
say
your
that
joy.
like it's personal experience. So
Well, I don't have a fence, so
those are the two genders, fence or weeb.
Wow. You heard it here first.
yeah. It's like was it his, hers, and cool hat?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
His, hers,
The-
fence.
That's a new bio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
waiting for
God.
the fence X cool hat slash fic.
Oh no, we
Oh.
already did Bobble and an X-wing. Let's not talk about your cursed fanfics, Maddie. That'd be a whole
My
other-
cursed fanfics. Wait until you get Clara on the podcast.
Oh no. Oh yeah, she's only just started reading fanfics, was she?
Yeah, she's
It
fallen
kills
into
me
the
that
AO3
she's
hole.
only just started reading fanfic. As
I
someone who read
know.
fanfic when I was like 12, deep in my Harry Potter phase.
Yeah, same.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, all of us. I'm like, don't cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was wrought. Like,
Yeah, so for
True.
somebody's first fanfiction to be when they're like in their late
30.
20s boggles my mind. I do love that fanfiction is getting more love now. Like back in the day, it was like
Yeah.
the secret, like
Dirty.
I read
Yeah.
fanfiction, don't tell anyone.
It was.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
Yeah,
and
Now
I
it's
write
getting
it
made
too.
into movies and like books. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like The Love Hypothesis is like a best-selling book, and that's a Raylo fanfiction.
Oh my God. I mean, 50 Shades did a number.
50 Shades is the most famous fanfiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. I've said it to a few people. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just Twilight fanfiction. They're like, what? I'm like, no, they've just changed names.
Yeah,
Like,
literally.
rewatch it. And they're like,
Rewatch
oh
it.
no.
Here's the real question, Maddie. Like, here we go. Here's the real thing.
Oh.
What fanfiction are you reading
Right now.
that you would admit to?
Ooh. I mean, I kind of fell off the fanfic bandwagon. I read it a lot as a teenager. I used to read, again, The Accursed Harry Potter, as we all did. I read X-Men fanfiction, lol. I read Monster High fanfiction. That's probably the last fanfiction I read was Monster High, because we only get so much of that lore that I need it to be explored. But yeah, our friend Clara, she's reading a lot of Grishaverse and Six of Crows fanfiction, which I feel like I might fall down because I love that fandom too. So I'm sure one day she'll send me one that piques my interest, and I will fall down it. But yeah, I never really got the fanfiction bug as much as most people did, although I do love it, and I think it is because I always say, okay, this is my controversial take. Are you ready? This is your soundbite to post on socials. All the current writers of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot or the new season of a show with predetermined characters, all they are doing is writing fanfiction, but with a license.
True.
Because they are taking predetermined characters
Yeah.
and putting it to their own narrative and then releasing it.
Yeah.
Does that mean every Batman film from the first one
It's fanfiction.
is actually
Yeah.
fanfiction?
Well, they're all fanfiction of the comics.
We're gonna get so many mad people in our DMs.
Well, enjoy.
Not the DC bros,
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Not the DC bros.
I mean, I could have said it for like.
Honestly.
Well, I said it because how many reboots has Batman had?
A lot.
So many.
Too many.
So many. And that's the thing. And it's a pre-existing character. It's no longer in the canon that it existed to within the start. It's a different storyline.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's fanfiction.
Wow.
Yeah. What does that make the Disney live actions?
Trash.
Without hesitation.
Besides Cinderella, I will die on that hill.
No, because if they're following the same storyline.
Yeah, they're like...
No, because the Beauty and the Beast one is like,
Oh,
we're going
off
to
the
make her
rails.
girl boss gatekeep gaslight and she's
And travel
cool,
to...
and they ruined
Time
it.
travel to Paris.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I forgot
like
about
yeah, and all they're trying to plot. This is the thing. People like to laugh at Disney now and be like, "Oh, she's got Stockholm syndrome," and oh, this, and it's like it's a kids' movie. Like,
It was made in like the 50s. Calm
yeah,
down.
it's not that deep. It's a cute Disney movie, and yeah, you could. It's the whole like you could put context on anything if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
and they're trying that's the thing I find with Disney live actions, which is what Cinderella didn't do, which is why Cinderella is superior, is the ones post Cinderella try to fix the films.
Yeah,
They try to be like, oh well, Belle actually didn't have a massive library to draw from. She only had one shelf, and she actually did this and this and this. Whereas Cinderella just retold the story through a lens of like, what if took the time period of the 1950s and were like, if they made this as a live action, what would the costumes have been? So they did it from like a 1950s costume lens, which is honestly, if you have a chance to read Sandy Powell's notes about the costume, no, is it Colleen Atwood? I think it's Colleen Atwood. About the notes about the costume, they are fantastic because she chose specific fabrics for specific reasons. They also didn't try to fix the story; they just retold it.
mm.
And it's like, that is the issue, is that you're not trying to, like with Beauty and the Beast, they tried to make it, again, like they just tried to make it so it was a feminist story when actually it already was. She read books, she taught the Beast how to read, she denied Gaston, but they had to like change it. And then kind of, it's when they like poo-hoo on the original and be like, even though this is what made us our millions and is beloved, now we're going to tell you it's wrong to like it.
Yeah.
And I think
And
that's,
they
again,
made so
like,
many more plot holes and issues by
yeah,
doing that.
by doing that, it just, yeah. So it's fan fiction, but it's bad fan fiction. That's the answer.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we have real hope for Little Mermaid.
I want to love it because I love Halle Bailey, but I'm not forgiving anyone for giving Melissa McCarthy that makeup.
Oh god, yeah.
The CG choices in general, I was
Have
really
you?
excited for it,
You
and
lost me
like,
at
So was
Flounder.
I. Oh, Skinny Flounder.
You lost
Don't
me at
do this to me.
Flounder. And I got so confused. So I thought like Sebastian was a lobster for so long, and then they made him a crab, and I was like, has he been a
Look,
crab this whole time?
he's been a crab the whole time. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. He's just
I don't hate Scuttle. I will say that.
Scuttle's fine,
yeah,
but
Scuttle was
it's
fine.
just, and like the design of all the mermaids is so beautiful, but then the rest of it, I'm just like, what have you done? Why? And
Also, the
like
color
they
grading, the color grade, like
Mm.
wild,
they fumbled it basically. They had
yeah,
gold and they fumbled it.
yeah, and like there's they released a behind the scenes video today, literally as of recording this today, of Melissa McCarthy getting into the Ursula makeup, and it looks that bad out of CG.
Oh no.
And I'm like, how? Who did you? Everyone's quote retweeting it like there wasn't a queer person on the staff at all to like blend the eyeshadow, and like
Well, I've not
I
seen
was.
it. I have to Google it.
I'll try and find
Mm.
the makeup. Yeah, it's like kids party Ursula. It's just not.
Oh no!
It's
Why are her eyebrows green?
Yeah, and why is it like block shadow?
Oh, this
I
is like
don't.
baby's first drag.
Yeah, literally,
Also,
which is
her
why everyone's
eyebrows
like,
are wonky. Those
I
are wonky
know.
eyebrows.
So all the drag race queens are like retweeting it, like, "Hello, we were available," and like I have mixed feelings about Melissa McCarthy because I just, yeah, and like I feel like Ursula as a character, again, because I've cosplayed her a lot, I have a lot of respect for her. Yes, of course, she stole a teenager's voice and whatever, but she's like confident and never apologetic for her size or anything. Whereas a lot of kind of recent Melissa McCarthy stuff, not early Melissa McCarthy, like Gilmore Girls was peak, but like a lot of recent stuff relies on the size as a joke, and I'm very worried that they're going to do that with Ursula in the live action, when actually in the film her size was never a joke.
Yeah, it's just who
Um,
she was. That's
it's
just
just who
what.
she
Yeah,
is.
it was nothing to
Yeah,
do with it.
yeah. So I'm just, that's why I'm trepidatious. Yeah,
she's not
she's based off Divine, the drag queen. So
Yes.
yeah, it's true.
like, yeah, and I think like that's so, I just love
Oh
Ursula
my
so
god,
much. I miss being
this
Ursula. I used
picture
to
of
do one
her.
Ursula cosplay a year. What? Are you just
It's
like
just it's a
looking at
still
the?
from like the movie of her as Ursula, and she looks like she's calling the manager. Like,
And the
oh
way they
no.
gave her sleeves, they gave her tentacle sleeves. Stop this.
Sleeves?
Yeah, she has her part, so her tentacle body goes up into sleeves.
How does...
Yeah,
No.
but she still has hands.
That's not how octopus women
Yeah.
work.
I'm forever mad that they robbed us of Lizzo as Ursula.
Yeah.
Honestly. Could you
Lizzo would have
imagine?
Imagine a Lizzo version of Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Oh,
They
that'd have been
also
so good.
reportedly had Gaga lined up.
Yeah.
Which, can you imagine if there had been a
Didn't she
Lady
turn
Gaga
it down
Ursula?
because she wasn't
Yeah, because she
comfortable
wasn't
paying
plus
the
size.
position?
Yeah, which icons only. But imagine the sound they would have made if there had been a Lady Gaga Ursula.
Oh my god.
I still wish they'd had her as Vanessa. Imagine Lady Gaga as Vanessa.
That would have been
You would have
so
killed
good.
it.
But like the Vanessa they've got is good. And like I'm trying not to perceive it because she's in like a purple historical gown, and I'm
Right.
like, don't show me this because I will make it.
Do it.
I found the sleeves.
Oh no.
Horrible.
Yeah. It was a choice.
So this is something we're going to ask everyone that comes on it. I got asked last time, but it's your turn. Name one thing you could control or delete without explanation.
Whoa, what a question. Turfs.
Valid.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Context
absolutely.
not needed. Context not
No,
needed.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
No more turfs on my toadstool. That is.
Yes. I
Perfect.
want on a shirt.
Well, Lydia got me on a tote from MCM. So.
Oh, did you actually? Perfect.
Did I?
Yeah, you got me it's a pink tote with glitter writing that says "No more turfs on my toadstool" with a frog on it.
I do not remember that. It sounds like
It's
something I would
iconic.
buy for you, but I do not
It's
remember
iconic. It's my favourite thing.
Cool. Well, on that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening. I've been Siobhan.
I've been Lydia.
And our guest today has been the absolutely wonderful Maddie, aka Dame Deadly. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us today, and you can find not only myself and Lydia on socials as Short Photography and Celery Designs, you can find Maddie at Dame Deadly pretty much everywhere. And the same, you can find more of this podcast on pretty much every social media platform at Ctrl-Alt-Cos. So next week, I'm not sure who our guest is, so I can't say that.
Yeah,
but,
we
enjoy,
don't want
but enjoy the sneak peek anyway. It's a surprise to all of us. So I'm going to leave it like that.
Mystery.
And we're all going to say goodbye.
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 Bye.
Yeah, it's just a freeing experience to be floating about in a big tank of water and just seeing what fun poses and stuff you can do.
The way you've done everything, like cosplay choreography, land, sea, and air.
Yeah, that could be your tagline.
Like, you've covered, you're up in the air on the hoop, you're in the underwater, and then obviously on land for everything else.
Next is fire. When are you going to do something?
Yeah, we have discussed maybe doing some kind of fire thing. I do Ida, she has fire stuff, so yeah,
Ooh,
one day.
one day. This summer. No, maybe.
The Fire Nation will attack.
So, yes.
That would be cool.